Hello there. So, it's me again. I'm back. Um, Maybe I'll get around to, all those videos I took and never put up. Uh, Actually, speaking of that, I do happen to have a round to it. So, oh wait, yeah, it's right side up. So, it's basically for all of your problems. Yay, round to it. I don't know if you could read that, but yes. Now I've got around to it, so everything I need to get done will get done. So anyways, before I show you my writing process, because is what I want to do, first I'd like to show you, a couple things. So let's make sure. So you probably saw as we panned in my whole plan friends. So here we have my phone pendant. Nice cute little guy there. My wife got him for me in Japan when she had to do a visa run. We have Alyosha, named after, of course, a character from a Dostoevsky novel. We have Augustine. I found him in Ireland. And he's named after, actually, there's two Augustines. There's the Augustine who wrote the Confessions, and there's the Augustine who brought Christianity back to England. So that's who my writing buddy Augustine's named after. And then we have, way back here, come on, we have Archie, and we found him at Arches National Park, hence the name. Because I wasn't able to think up a bachelor name, so this name stuck. But anyways, I can go back to over here. Those are some of my writing buddies, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you sorts of a look at, the sorts of things I do when I write. Yeah, that should be interesting. Oh, and I'm in a really good mood because this morning I went on a 2-hour wandering adventure trying to find a library. And I did find it. And I also found 2 really cool parks. So I'll have to take you there. And don't worry, we won't be going for quite as long as I want because now I know a much more direct way there. But, when you don't know exactly where some place is, and you just have the general area, you sort of wander around until you find it. So, anyways, we will now go ahead and start looking, and I'm going to have to reposition you because, I need to make sure I can see what is happening here and also over here, and if I'm looking this way and not at my desk, it's going to be hard. So, I'm going to move us. So, un momento, por favor. So, I've moved you around, and now you'll be looking sort of down towards my desk from a different angle. Unfortunately, you're not going to see much of me. Or maybe good, I'm a bit scruffy, But I did have a shower after my walk. So, oh yeah, if you want to check out the shorts I'm wearing, it's kind of fun. I think it's called Too Many Cooks, and if you understand that reference, the second half, spoil the broth. Anyways, we're going to focus now on my writing. So, we have a couple things here, and also my sword. So, but let's focus in now on the first bit. So I have more than one tool I use when I write. So we'll look here at the first one, which is notebooks. So in this notebook here, this is my notebook for Fox Streams, which is a project that was started as a collaboration between me and a friend, good friend, was roommates with my former roommates before I was roommates with them. So that's how I got to know him. And really cool guy, very creative. On YouTube he goes by Blood Runs Clear. So he does lots of fake movie trailers. So you should, if you're interested in those things, seeing what movies he thinks should be made, check them out. But anyways, this was an idea we had called Fox Dreams, where our, real world is a dream world of a fox. And so these are some notes we took. We were sitting down discussing. So notes, and this is all my handwriting, and we get some of his handwriting because I was like, let's switch, and I drew a little drawing here. Not quite sure if something like this will ever show up in the story or not. And then more notes, trying to nail down a character. So there's a big character questionnaire. It's not all filled out. And we go here. We've got a little bit of writing as I writing a scene, and then okay. So as I was working and my friend, he's got lots of ideas and a great imagination running through his head. So maybe we'll both get back to working on this together. But in the meantime, I suddenly realized that I really wanted to investigate the backstory of one of the characters. So what I'm doing then is I'm making a graphic novel or webcomic script, something like that. I don't know exactly how it's going to turn out, if it's going to, try and be published physically, or if I'm going to put it online and then try and publish it physically. Sometimes there's words that go springing from your lips, and other times they're like, no, I am not leaving your mouth. I cannot allow it. So anyways, yes, I know I'm crazy, but anyways. So this here then are notes for that story, which I'm calling as a working title, Fox Dreams Descent, with the colon, yes, with the colon in between the two, Fox Dreams colon Descent. Sometimes these words. Anyway, so starting to try and take notes here. And you can see here, we have a bit of writing, like page 5, panel 1, and then here, actually, sorry, my screen, you can see here, I've got in brackets FN2, FN1. I've actually now named these characters, but one, I don't know a character's name, and I'm writing, and I've got, good burst of writing, and I don't want to stop to do all the research of, okay, what should I name this character? Because I actually put a lot of work, into names, most names. And so I'll just write, F is female, N name 2, and FN1. So female name 2, female name 1. And I just keep going, and whenever their name would show up, just put in brackets, that, and then keeps me in track. And then we've got notes about how they view death, and up here, goodbye grandma, because actually, my grandmother died, so we got a little bit of sadness. The interesting thing is that allowed me to get more into one of my characters, because that character experiences loss as well. So anyways, and then I've got what is it, Dulce et Decorum Est. That's from Wilfred Owen, maybe? It's a famous poem. And then you have slipped the surly bonds of earth, which is from a poem that was then quoted for the Challenger. And then the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveller has returned. I didn't quite finish. That's Hamlet. And actually, this one I might use in the story at some point. Okay, and then got a little bit more, and I'm trying to, hear pages, figure out, okay, what's going on, I have a splash page here for the first page, and then, reveal something here, etc., etc. So, trying to plan out the first several pages, making sure that, I keep even pages for certain reveals of events, because when you have odd or even odd, right? When you turn the page, the even's the first thing you see, and then you go to the odd. So if you reveal stuff on the even page in a graphic novel or or comic, webcomics, doesn't matter so much, anyways, because it's not like a book where you flip. But in books, if you reveal it on an even page, then it's not spoiled if they look over and go, oh, there's something big coming. But if it's so that's, I was just plotting out some things, some notes, some working on panels, and then random notes for buses to take to get to a grocery store. And then I started going, okay, well, I need to figure out one of these concepts, the dream world concept. I need to get that nailed down. So I started, and I wrote something here, and then I was like, cross it out. I didn't like that. And then I was like, okay, I'll start writing some more, and starting writing it as if I were someone in that world, describing it to other people in that world who did not know yet what these were. And I realized as I went along that, I should have a bit of a preface, because as I went along, I realized, okay, I think this is a professor, at a university, explaining to other professors, about this new thing that they have come up with, these dream worlds, and so talking about, this exciting new thing. And so then I put, B and C and A so that I could write the first part, and then once I hit B, go here, and then C, and then, so my notebooks then, and this is as far as I've got, because then I was like, oh, my website, it is not finished. So that's that. Then usually after I, notebook, I'll type it up, and here all the notes you can see are actually because last year when I was teaching creative writing, I had them do scripts, and so I used what I had as one of the examples of scripts, and then I actually had a actual, published comic script, and I managed, amazingly enough, to find in a used bookstore here called What the Book. It's a really cool name, but I managed to find the comic that I had found the free early draft of the script for. And so then I was able to show the students, here's the early draft, and here's the finished product, and you can look then at how the script ties into the pictures on the page, and yet at the same time, okay, there were some differences here, and here's where the writer has left things up to the artist, and you can see how the artist then has interpreted what the writer wrote. So it's, anyways, that was that. But the interesting thing here is, again, sort of my process. So you see here, it says, FN1. And here it's in red, because when I put it on the computer, if I still haven't figured out by then, I want it to stand out that, it's something that needs to be worked on. So I'll put it in red so that black text, black text, black text. Oh, red. That means, need to get this figured out. And so, I'll put question marks and, wasn't exactly sure. I now have figured out the age, but, figuring out the age of the character, figuring out all sorts of other stuff, names and things like that. So, just basically, that's then sort of that process. And then after I've got, something, oh good, I still have water. Not anymore. Once I've got it, into the computer and printed off, then what we get is in here. And I'll show you my computer tools after this. But this here is a different story I have been working on. This one's got the working title of The Fox's Tale. It's the working title. There's my monogram that I've made for myself. So, anyways. And I used blue because it would prove to the school that I was using my own paper and not their paper, which is all white. So I went out, bought blue paper to print on. So yes, I used their ink, but I didn't use their paper. So I felt a little bit better about that. And no one did get on my case for printing this many pages. And I did double space, or not double space, double side. Yeah, I double spaced to make it easier for editing. So anyways, so we have in orange, because I do have an orange pen, some comments of mine. I have a note because I emailed this to a couple people. We have English teacher who was working at the school with us who wanted to see a friend, my wife, and I made sure they had, actually my wife used this copy, this hard copy, so didn't email one to her. But, a couple people got emails and then they emailed me back with comments. And so I have, my wife, who was a creative writing major as well, her comments. I have an English teacher comments, and I have one of my good friends' comments. So I have, 3 different types of comments. Then, someone looking at it as an English teacher, someone looking at it as an English teacher and creative writing, and someone looking at it as, a reader who likes fantasy and sci-fi. And so, anyways, so it's good to have these different ranges of comments, because they're each useful. And then also I will go through too and make comments. And so, you've got comments here, the orange, here's my wife's comments, and then blue is me again. And so basically then what happens is I will go through and print off, because I do editing a lot better when I have a hard copy that I can actually sort of see the words, and touch the words, and smell them if I really want to, even though, now since it's been a while since I printed this, really just it smells bland. But, when it's fresh, it's good to just get that new printed story smell. And anyways, a little bit of motivation to get you going. But actually, yeah, I probably would do that. And so, I have a whole bunch of comments, and so I'll go through and make notes like cut, because here my editor said, my wife, question mark, what? Don't understand what's going on. And I'm like, well, do I even really need that sentence? And so, going through and figuring out, okay, what to do, and just, making notes as I go. So that's then a look at my editing process too. So now, okay, so basically you've seen, I've got notebooks, I've got printed stuff, and now I've got my computer. Okay, so hopefully the screen in the video isn't horrible. So there's my mouse. So we have Microsoft Word, and this is what I have been doing for the Fox's Tale story. It's in Microsoft Word, and it's quite a long thing. And I double space it for the fact that it's easier to edit that way because you can write in between. And so it's a word processing program. Not much I need to say about it. This is just scrolling through my story here. I wrote this one in November for NaNoWriMo. First time I actually managed to do NaNoWriMo without life interfering too much. I mean, I was teaching, and so I had to do all my teaching and then my writing, and it was torture. Okay, but I managed to do it by the grace of God, and maybe not as much sleep as I should have gotten, but I did it. So anyways, that's that. And then I also have, because I did NaNoWriMo, I got a discount on Scrivener, which I've been using because it's quite handy. Here, let me get it so we can zoom in a little more. Okay. It's quite handy, at least for the graphic novel, because I'm able then to break it into each page. So we can go page 1, and there's actually a format for pages and stuff that is like graphic novel, where you can just hit tab or enter to go through, page and then panel and then description and then, well, I don't have any characters talking here yet. So, to go through and do that, and you can have, more than one open at the same time. So, if I'm up here working on, Dream Worlds, and down here, page 8, and so, I can reference stuff. So say, I'm on page 8 and I want to make sure, as I'm writing, I don't, cause continuity breaks. Make sure things make sense. Well, I can have, page 7, scroll down, make sure, I know where it ended, make sure, that sort of thing. So it's really cool that you can break it into pages, and then I've broken it. Here you can see the corkboard where, I've got a little bit of description for each page, and then I haven't written these pages yet. So, and we have, here we go, part 1 by Direlda, and so then, I have part 1, and then when I get to part 2 and part 3, I've already got it. I've got, place to write a bit more about characters, which I'll get to eventually. And you've got, you can research, and so I've got, stuff when it was in Word, and a couple drawings that my collaborator made, and then I don't know why that drawing's in there, but a couple drawings that he made when we were, as I was talking about, brainstorming. So I can go to the drawing, and it's kind of dark because it would look better, but anyways, so there's those, and so I've been using then Scrivener because of just how well it works for this sort of thing for Fox streams, descent. So that's that's the program I'm using. And, since it's probably really boring to watch a writer work than a artist, because with an artist you can go and you can see them drawing and such, and we're going to zoom not in there. Going to zoom back and take a look again at me. Okay, so with a writer it's a bit harder to get excited about watching them work, because he's going to keep writing those sentences. There's a Monty Python skit about someone writing, and it's like, he's begun 3 novels with whatever, I can't remember exactly. My roommate freshman year had Monty Python skits on CD, and he would play them as I was going to sleep. So they're bouncing around in my mind as like fragments of stuff. So maybe that explains a bits of, me. Anyways. So since it's not going to be exciting to watch me write, I'm not going to, let you see that. Because, well, I don't want to bore you. But what I will do is we'll sort of stand up and move back. Because sometimes when I'm writing, I'll stop, set the pen down, I'll get up and I'll just start walking and thinking, talking to myself about the idea. And I may or may not, have a notepad or notebook in my hand. And just sort of going, okay, this here, and just sort of going and pacing while thinking things out, and then sit down. And sometimes, I'll get up and I'll try and go, okay, so the action, if, person's here and here, and try and visualize it a bit more. Or, drawing, like, okay, so we have the circle of stones here, and there's an avenue going like this, and just sort of get it so that I can see it, even though there's nothing there, so you can't see, but just getting my imagination to imagine, okay, there's the circle of stones, the avenue of stones, the one with the lintel, and we've got the ship here, and it's set on fire, and slowly propelled with magic down the avenue, and at the end, the 2 stones with the lintel on top, they frame a doorway into a starry lit sky, and it's black. You can't tell the ground because it's night, or maybe there is no ground, and it's just stars above, and they send the ship through. And that is the send-off. And so I just sometimes will do this then, and I can see it then in my mind's eye as I, use my hands and gesture. I'm not going to even say the word for the motions because I can never get it to my wife's satisfaction, the pronunciation. Because me in pronunciation, I did take speech therapy when I was younger, and not that it did any good, because I then became a linguistics minor, and whatever. Now I've picked up a lot of different ways of speaking. Anyways, yes, very idiosyncratic in terms of words. So I do that, I visualize, and it helps me write. So sometimes, if I've got a fight scene, I'll be like, okay, knowing what I know of fighting, and the ceiling is really too low, so I may have to go to a park, but because I do have a sword, I may now be able to, go to a park, and, where there's not many people, and maybe then practice, because I don't want people to think like I'm going to attack them, right? Because I don't want that impression. Weird, that's fine. Hostile, that's not good. So, but if I just, can then sort of block out, as in theatre blocking, I guess, the, fight scene, using, is what I'm describing physically possible? That's something, I don't want it like, oh look, and suddenly I'm flying through the air, like, I'm just still in the air, and, maybe if you've got, like, I want it to be believable. Sure, there can be things that aren't possible in our world, but I want it to at least be believable in the context of the world. So I'm trying to, have certain things as realistic as possible, and others, so that then it forms a more believable whole. So anyways, I'll sometimes just, figure out, is what I'm describing possible. So that's actually then, it's the last sorts of technique then of my writing, the interesting part, where I'm sort of just wandering around the apartment, with my hands moving in the air and just talking to myself, and Oh, before I forget, where did I put? I also have a couple other things, I guess, now that I think of it. I managed to get a hold of some big sheets of paper. So I have one with, like, the Dramatis Personae, yay Latin. And then I have another with a, sorts of timeline and driving conflicts. And so I've got, timeline and, just working on figuring out plot and characters before I dive in and getting that. And then at some point, what I'll do, because cartography is something that interests me as well. I'll have a map at some point. And so we've got not much in here, but I'll just start drawing a map. I have no idea what this is a map of, other than it looks like an island with some trees. Yeah. But that's how I do trees, by hand. So it's not perfect. Well, it's because when I draw a forest, there are lots of trees. And I'm still trying to get better with mountains and other things, but trees I'm pretty pleased with, at least for conifers. But anyways, so I'll draw a map, and I've got plenty of paper in here, that when I get to that point, when I'm feeling that it's time to add a map, so that all these things in my head can get settled down, so that I'm not getting lost. Because when I've got one location and we're just in this one location, that's okay. And then we go second location, okay, I can keep track of sort of how they're related, but then if you start going all over the place, like, I can keep track of it, but at the same time it's probably better to something in my to get a map going, so that then I can do this. So anyways, that's my writing process. Pretty much most of it, aside from me actually typing or writing, because I'll do both. I'll write stuff in notebooks, because I like the feel of it's like the ink, I'm bleeding ink onto the page, and my thoughts. It's my thoughts are the ink bleeding onto the page, and so it's a very visceral, I guess, connection to my story. Whereas with the computer, it's like, ba-da-ba-da-ba-da, zeros and ones. Woohoo! You know. So I guess that's why I feel sorry for the trees. But, anyways, that's my writing process, and I hope it was interesting. And the best way to get better at writing, and here's someone who taught creative writing to high schoolers, so take it with a grain of salt, but I also learned from professors, so anyways, in my opinion, the best way is to read a lot and to just keep writing. So if you're thinking, I want to be a great writer someday, and you're like, but my writing sucks, it's so horrible. Well, just read a lot, So, and not just in the genre you're interested in. So, definitely read stuff in genre, that you plan on writing, so that get a feel for what's out there and go, okay, there seems to be a lot of, in fantasy, there are lots of elves, and there are lots of, evil dragons, and there are lots of, also, and there are orcs and halflings and goblins and all these creatures, and so you go, okay, there's a lot of that, and a lot of dwarves, and except dwarves all seem to be Scottish, when to me, I think they should be more like Germanic. So hopefully that's enough of a twist to keep my dwarves a bit more interesting, but we'll see. Anglo-Saxon, old German dwarves, but we'll see how that works. I may end up striking them and replacing them with something more original. Who knows? But in any case, you read in your genre to know what's there, to know what's been overdone, to know who are the giants in the field, and then you also read outside, because there are great writers all over the place, and so I recommend Dostoevsky, most definitely, Shakespeare. If you can handle dark subjects, Coetzee, J.M. Coetzee is good. Virginia Woolf is good. Hemingway has, his style is, one it takes a little bit getting used to maybe for some. Faulkner, he's really good. As I Lay Down, I really like that one. So just, as you notice, I'm sort of all over the place in terms of literature. So it's important to be, widely read, but then it's also important to keep writing. Sure, your first draft sucks, but so does mine. And that's why I then, rewrite it and go through and say, okay, here's the stuff, just toss it. And, here's the stuff that, okay, it can use a lot of work, and maybe you'll find something that, good as is, okay. So it's a process of writing, rewriting, and just keep writing, because if you stop writing, you're not going to get any better. There's no substitute for practice. It's the same with drawing, and which is why I'm not very good at drawing, because I haven't really been practicing. But who knows? Anyways, I've now rambled on quite a bit, and you probably want to be going, so cheers, and see you around.